Marco's apartment was less a home and more a dusty museum of forgotten things, a testament to his passion for antiques and his dire financial straits. Under the dim glow of a desk lamp, the harsh reality of his bank account glared back from the monitor, a single mocking number that screamed failure. Stress etched new lines onto his face as he clicked away, seeking refuge in the familiar chaos of Craigslist. His fingers scrolled endlessly through a digital bazaar of broken furniture and unwanted junk until one ad snagged his attention. The photo was a blurry mess, but the title was bold: Magnificent Venetian Mirror. The price was so low it had to be a mistake, a flicker of impossible hope in the late-night gloom. The journey was a descent through time. Marco's aging car rattled away from the gleaming modern city, its engine a weary protest against the miles. He drove into a district where the buildings grew older and the streets became eerily quiet, as if the modern world had forgotten this pocket of history. He finally arrived at a dilapidated villa, a crumbling giant choked by ivy, its windows like vacant eyes. It looked as though it hadn't seen a living soul in decades. Hesitantly, he approached the heavy oak door and knocked. A long, agonizing creak was the only reply as the door swung open, revealing a woman named Elena. Her smile was ancient and knowing as she beckoned him inside without a word. The air within the villa was thick with the scent of dust and decay. Every surface was draped in cobwebs, home to a silent army of relics. Elena glided through the gloom, her movements unnaturally graceful. "Some things," she whispered, her voice like rustling leaves, "choose their owner." She gestured toward the mirror, its ornate frame catching what little light pierced the grime. "It belonged to a nobleman," she continued, "a man who lost himself to vanity." With another cryptic smile, she offered it to him not for the advertised pittance, but for free, a gift he felt compelled to accept. Back in his own apartment, the mirror transformed the space. Hung on the main wall, its gilded frame seemed to radiate a cold, regal light. Marco stared at his reflection and saw a different man looking back, sharper, more confident, a version of himself he'd always longed to be. The mirror became his obsession. Days bled into one another as he spent hours captivated by his own image, ignoring the world outside. Soon he began to notice fleeting shadows flitting in the periphery of the reflection, ghostly figures that vanished the moment he tried to focus on them. One night, he awoke from a vivid nightmare, drenched in sweat, with the terrifying certainty that he had been trapped behind the glass, watching a phantom version of himself live out his life. The visions grew bolder. While staring into its depths, the reflection's background dissolved, replaced by a lavish ballroom from a bygone century. His reflection, dressed in opulent attire, was the host of a spectral party, raising a champagne flute in a silent, sinister toast to the real Marco. A profound, chilling terror finally broke the spell. Marco, now gaunt and pale, his life force seemingly siphoned away, grabbed a sheet to cover the cursed object, but it slid to the floor as if pushed by an unseen hand. He lunged for a heavy bookend, intending to smash the glass to pieces, but his body refused to obey. His muscles locked, his arm frozen in place, a puppet on invisible strings. Panic seized him. He fled his apartment and drove frantically back to the ancient district, the villa his only hope. But where the decaying mansion had stood, there was only a burnt-out, hollow ruin, a blackened skeleton that looked as if it had been abandoned for at least 50 years. Defeated, he returned home. The mirror's pull was irresistible now, a silent summons he could no longer fight. He slumped to the floor before it, his energy completely gone. In the glass, his reflection smiled a triumphant predatory grin. A hand, identical to his own but cold and solid, reached out from the mirror's surface, its fingers gripping his shirt and pulling him forward. With a sickening lurch, he was pulled through the cold, unyielding glass. The reflection stepped out into the room, now a perfect living copy of Marco. It coolly adjusted the collar of its jacket, cast a final, smirking glance at the mirror, and walked out the door. The final shot is a close-up on the ornate glass, where the face of the real Marco is now trapped, his mouth open in a silent, eternal scream. Before you step into story number 2, just a quick warning. Things are about to get darker and much more disturbing. So before we continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon, because you won't want to miss what comes next. In the sun-drenched chaos of his workshop, surrounded by curling maps and the scent of ink and old paper, Alessandro's world was shrinking. An eviction notice lay starkly on his work table, its formal script a death knell for his artistry. His gaze drifted from the threatening words to the vibrant, unfinished charts of Florence, the city he loved more than life itself, now on the verge of casting him out. The worry was a knot in his stomach, tight and cold. Just as despair began to settle, a shadow fell across his doorway. The man who entered was Lord Valerius, whose opulent robes and confident air seemed to consume all the light and space in the humble room. He moved with a predator's grace, his eyes sweeping over Alessandro's work. "They say you are the finest hand in all of Florence," Valerius purred, his voice a rich velvet. He unrolled a scroll across the table, revealing an ancient, incomplete map of the city, its parchment a strange, almost luminous material. Valerius claimed it was a lost family heirloom, a treasure he wished to restore as a magnificent gift to the city. For this one task, he offered Alessandro a fortune, enough to silence every debt and fear. The offer was a lifeline, and Alessandro, seeing no other choice, grasped it. Suspicion, however, pricked at him. The parchment felt unnatural, and he took the map to Elara, a quiet, brilliant librarian at the Medici Library. Her eyes widened as she traced the map's edges. "This is astral vellum," she whispered, her voice low with reverence and fear. "Be warned, Alessandro. Such maps are said to chart more than just streets. They chart the very soul of a place." He dismissed her words as scholarly superstition, his mind fixed on the purse of gold. Back in his workshop, he began his work. As a test, he idly sketched a small, elegant footbridge over the Arno, a whim of fancy. That night, a gasp caught in his throat. From his window, he saw it. A shimmering, ghostly bridge arcing over the river, ethereal and impossible, before it vanished with the first rays of dawn. Stunned and electrified, he had to know more. The next day, he found a faded, forgotten fountain marked in a piazza on the map and carefully restored its lines with his quill. He rushed to the square and found the real fountain, once dry and cracked, now flowing with crystal-clear water. Children were splashing in its basin, and locals gathered, their faces filled with delight at the miraculous restoration. A surge of power, intoxicating and divine, coursed through him. He was not just a cartographer, he was a creator. Obsessed, Alessandro worked with a feverish intensity, the map consuming his every waking thought. He poured his love for Florence into every line, restoring forgotten chapels and beautifying humble alleyways. As he drew the final intricate street, completing the city, the door to his workshop swung open. Lord Valerius stood there, but the charming courtier was gone. In his place was a man of cold ambition, flanked by 2 guards whose shadows were like daggers on the floor. Valerius's smile was a cruel slash across his face. He confessed his true plan was not to gift the map, but to wield it. He intended to erase the grand palazzos of his rivals, the influential Strozzi and Pazzi families, directly from the map, thereby wiping their legacies and very existence from the history of Florence. When Alessandro recoiled in horror and refused, Valerius's guards seized him. The Lord then played his final devastating card, revealing he held the deed to Alessandro's family home. Ruin was the price of defiance. In the ensuing struggle, Alessandro's hand shot out, grabbing a quill. In a desperate act, he drew a thick, bold wall right through the center of his workshop on the map. Instantly, a shimmering barrier of solid light erupted from the floorboards, blocking the guards and giving him a precious moment to escape with the priceless scroll. He fled into the labyrinthine alleys of Florence, a ghost pursued by Valerius's relentless men. He was no longer just a cartographer, he was the city's protector, using the map as his shield. A quick stroke of ink turned an open alley into a dead end, trapping his pursuers. Another stroke created a locked door on a blank wall, allowing him to slip through unseen. He finally found his way to the library, where Ilara hid him in a secret chamber. "It's worse than you imagine," she explained, her face pale in the candlelight. "The map doesn't just destroy buildings, it rewrites memory. No one will remember what was lost. It will be as if the Strozzi never existed." The final confrontation came at dawn on the Ponte Vecchio, the sky streaked with pink and gold. Alessandro was cornered, Valerius's guards closing in. "Redraw Florence in my name, or your family will be on the streets by noon," Valerius commanded, his voice echoing over the river. Alessandro looked down at the map, then out at the waking city he adored. Its familiar domes and towers, a part of his very being. He made his choice. With a hand that was suddenly steady, he did not erase the Strozzi Palace. Instead, his quill moved to the Grand Valerius Palazzo. With deft, certain strokes, he transformed it on the vellum into a public orphanage. A flicker of confusion crossed Lord Valerius's face. His burning ambition, his thirst for power, it all vanished like morning mist. A new, unfamiliar sense of civic duty settled upon him. He turned to his guards, his expression serene. "We must check on the children at the orphanage," he said, his memory and purpose rewritten. As Valerius walked away, a changed man, Alessandro carefully rolled up the map. The power to remake the world was too great for any one person. He would hide it away, letting Florence write its own future, one unscripted day at a time. Like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.